Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at Wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com, at UCapper Sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt and Jeff Michaels to break down 3 games from today's NBA slate. Before we get into those games, though, I do want to talk about SportsMemo.com. All our stuff over here is over at SportsMemo.com. Our picks and packages are available over there. The live odds page is something that I use every day to see where lines are moving in different books. A couple other things too as well. There's a free picks and analysis page on the site where cappers at sportsmemo.com provide free information every single day. Make sure you head over to the site on a daily basis, because you never know what kind of promotions we got going on. There's a deals page. Like I mentioned, the free picks page. Sportsmemo.com has a lot of stuff, and a lot of people tend to not utilize it to its maximum potential. All it takes is a free is an email address, and it's a free login, a free sign up. Please make sure before you go as well to hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple clicks, and it helps our show grow tremendously as we continue to go through the NBA season here. With that said, guys, let's bring in Matt and Jeff here. Matt and Jeff, we like to start the show pretty transparent here. Yesterday I went 3-1 in the NBA. Things are going a little bit better after I had a terrible week last week. So hopefully we're going in the right direction and we continue to go that way as we close out the season. Jeff, how's your week going so far in the NBA?
Yeah, I can't complain. A lot of college basketball looks I've been given here. So a couple days off of the college basketball, really been diving into that aspect. But 3-0 in the last 2 days, so can't complain. Perfect in the NBA with the limited plays, and perfect in college basketball. So looking forward to diving back into this NBA action with you guys tonight. A couple good games on the card for us to talk about, no question.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a good week when you hear perfect twice. Matt, how's your week going so far?
Yeah, guys, I'm right there with you. I'm 5-3-1 on the week so far, up around 5 units. Been pretty successful. On Monday, we had a nice day with Giannis once he was declared in. And that's one thing too. I gave out Drew Holiday on this show. Then Giannis was declared in. It kind of shakes things up a little bit. I ended up taking Giannis 35 plus points at plus 170, so that helped a lot. And he absolutely went off. And it's kind of what we went over in our last show. How in certain situations, that's when those guys are plugged in for those particular spots where they can just absolutely go off. With Giannis against the Kings, they have absolutely no one who can guard that big power forward position like that. So it was one of those great situations. And today, I think we got a couple more of those that we can take advantage of. So just looking to break down the slate and keep it rolling with everyone.
Yeah, I remember on Monday too. I hit the best bet as well. I hit the Warriors game under. Went under by a point, but still went under. So hopefully we get another cash on the best bet for today. With that said, let's get into the slate. We got 3 games. The first one up that we want to talk about is the Sixers and the Cavs. Sixers are 45-22, currently on a 5-game winning streak, coming off of that big 19-point win over the Wizards on Sunday. This is a first of a 3-game road trip after 2 games at home. Cavs on the other side, they're 44-27 on the season. So really, we're looking at 2 top-tier teams over in the East. They're currently on a 2-game winning streak, coming off of the 16-point win over the Hornets last night in Charlotte. So this is the second leg of back-to-back road to home games. So there's travel involved in that back-to-back. Also, the first of a 2-game homestand here. From an injury standpoint, Jalen McDaniels is questionable. Last thing I saw, though, right before the show, he did not participate in shoot-around, so not looking good for him. Mitchell and Allen both sat out yesterday, are considered questionable for today. No update on that, and that's going to be something that we need to keep our eye on for the rest of the day before maybe before we place a bet on it. But from a matchup perspective, they have faced each other twice so far this season. Both times the home teams won and covered. Sixers won the most recent matchup, 118 to 112 as 1.5 point favorites at home. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this game here? It seems like the home teams have been winning and covering. Do we look towards the home team here, or are we going to fade the Cavs here on the second leg of back-to-back games?
Yeah, I can tell you this is one I'm definitely staying off of until at the bare minimum we see an injury report. I think you would agree with me, Ron. We talk trends, we talk angles, we talk that kind of aspect a lot. And a lot of things that I found here point towards the Cavs, but it's hard for me to back them, in this situation. No rest and the injuries that have been going around that team. I do believe, I haven't saw any actual information, I guess, to back this up, but I believe that Mitchell missed the last game and they called it injury management. So I do kind of anticipate Mitchell to be back tonight, but Jared Allen got hit pretty good in the eye the other night, and they thought it could be worse than it actually was. So I don't think that they're going to rush him back. I think they could be without him tonight, and I think that makes a good matchup for Philly. But Cleveland playing without rest this season, they're actually one of the best. They're 5-1 against the spread, and they're 6-0 straight up in the last 6 at home with 0 rest. And they're 6-0 straight up and against the spread at home with a rest disadvantage in general, regardless of how much rest they have. So a lot of numbers actually pointing towards Cleveland. I mean, if Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell end up playing tonight, we could be talking a different story. But I'd probably find myself staying off of this one, but I'm going to break it down a little more in the best bet later too. So I'll leave some surprise for that one.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, you mentioned a couple of good things there. Basically, the Cavs here on the second leg of back-to-back games. The one thing that's interesting, Jeff, is I looked this season specifically, teams on the second leg of back-to-back games facing an opponent with 2 or more days of rest this season, they're actually profitable, 40, 30, and 2 against the spread. But the other thing that's even more significant is actually a look towards the over here in that same situation. First, the team on the second leg of back-to-back games versus a team with 2 or more days of rest, 48 and 24 to the over this season. And so to me, that's obviously that's support to the over. But if we dive deeper into that, if we look at the more rested team being the favorite in the situation, it becomes 36 and 12 to the over. That's 75% hitting the over rate in that situation there. The other thing to mention that also supports the over here, from a total perspective, the Cavs are 11 and 4 to the over when the total is 220 or greater. They typically play a slower pace. They're a very defensive minded team, so we don't see 220s often in this year, in this situation where we see a whole bunch of 240s. It's rare to see 220s with the Cavs, 220 or greater. So when that happens, the books are expecting points, and it actually happens. Like I mentioned, 11-4 in that situation to the over. On the Sixers side, they're 11 and 5 to the over as road favorites, including 7-2 to the over when it's their road favorites in conference games. So to me, a lot of things are pointing towards the over in this situation. Possibly a lean towards the Cavs too. That look where that line may be overinflated with the team being in the second leg of back-to-back games versus a team that's more rested. It could be a situation where the line might be a little bit inflated here. Also, if you look at it, a lot of the starters didn't play over 30 minutes yesterday for the Cavs because they had a pretty easy matchup against the Hornets. The only person that played over 30 minutes was Isaac Okoro, and obviously Mitchell can come in and take those minutes from him and be pretty well rested himself. I don't know, Matt, what do you think about this one? Are you looking towards the total side or a prop on this game?
Honestly, I was looking at a side, but I really liked your total play. I think that's a really good look. I love the stats that you had to back that one. But my look is pretty similar to Jeff's. I just think there needs to be more information dropped in regards to this game before making an educated decision. I would definitely lean the Cavs here, but without Jarrett Allen against Joel Embiid, that's a huge mismatch. That then moves Evan Mobley to the 5, matching up against Joel Embiid, where he gives up some size, could get in foul trouble, things like that. And, another thing with Donovan Mitchell, if Donovan Mitchell doesn't play, that's a lot of scoring that needs to be distributed throughout that Cavs roster, and it puts a lot more pressure on someone like Darius Garland and that of Evan Mobley. And if Evan Mobley has to switch to that 5, then I'm definitely not as confident as before. And then, but to your point, Ron, I do think that if in fact, Jarrett Allen is declared out, I think this game opens up that much more, and it makes Joel Embiid that much more probable to score, that much more probable to go off, get rebounds, things of that nature. So if in fact Jarrett Allen is declared out, then I think that overlook is even better. But if in fact, and it could hit either way, but if Jarrett Allen is declared in with Donovan Mitchell, then I would probably go with the Cavs money line. But until I get some news on those two players, I can't make a decision. I feel like there's too much risk there. And then even though the line might move a little bit, it's just not worth it to me. So for me, it's a pass right now. But if those two are declared in, I would go Cavs. And I am really liking that overlook, Ron. I think you sold me on that.
Yeah, I like it. I like that. Jeff, any last words before we move on to the next game here?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say too, actually adding to the over point, Philly, 5 out of the last 6 games, they've shot 50% or better from the field too. So offense has been picking up and, they're hitting strides. So that adds to the fact.
Yeah, one thing that I looked at too, one more thing before we move on to that next game. The Sixers, they had a 5-game road trip post All-Star break. All 5 of those games, they went over their team total. So we typically look at those home road splits, and actually they've been doing really well on the road. So maybe that's something that continues going in that direction, and they go over this one here. Let's move on to the Celtics Wolves. Celtics here 47-22 on the season, coming off of the embarrassing outright loss to the Rockets as 13-point favorites. This is the third of a 6-game road trip. The Wolves, on the other hand, are 35-34, coming off a big 21-point win over the Hawks in Atlanta as 5-point dogs. This is a one-off home game. Then they head back out on the road for a 3-game Eastern Conference road trip. From an injury standpoint, Gallinari, Robert Williams, and Pritchard are all out for the Celtics. Cat continues to be out for the Wolves. Rivers, Gobert, Noel, and Reed are all questionable from what I've last seen. I don't know if there's an update to that prior to this morning, but they're questionable, not even probable or anything like that. So we might need to worry about their status as we continue to watch this game here. Matchup-wise, Celtics won and covered the first matchup at home as 9.5-point favorites, 121-109. Total was 228.5. Matt, what are your thoughts on this game here? I mean, Celtics coming off an embarrassing loss, is this like an automatic bounce back spot for them, or are we looking towards the Wolves because they got some revenge in their mind?
Yeah, so this is one of those spots, once again, where I'm looking at a particular player to kind of decide which way I go, because I'm looking at a total here. It's at 233.5 right now. And someone that I'm actually looking to in this matchup is going to be Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert locks down that middle for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And without him, that middle opens up. Naz Reid is also a game time decision in this matchup. And with someone like Jason Tatum, who's coming off an off night against the Houston Rockets, nonetheless, they lost on the road to the Rockets, looking to bounce back. Really embarrassing loss, to your point, Ron. I would think Jason Tatum is definitely in a spot to bounce back here as well. His line is at 28.5. Really like the look of that. I think Jason Tatum flirts with 35 plus tonight. And if, in fact, Gobert is out, Jason Tatum looks that much better in this matchup. And, this is one of those games, too, where the trends actually do point to the under. The Celtics are 11-22-1 to the under while on the road, while the Minnesota Timberwolves are 15-21 to the under while at home. But with that being said, when Rudy Gobert is declared out, the Minnesota Timberwolves run some type of hybrid lineup where Kyle Anderson kind of runs the 5. And when Kyle Anderson is running the 5, that game just speeds up that much more, because Anderson is kind of like I guess you could kind of compare him to like a smaller, much different Draymond Green, just in the way that he facilitates and he rebounds and doesn't score really. So he's one of those guys who pushes that ball up the court, facilitates as fast as possible. And I think that picks up the pace in this game as well. And then this is also a Minnesota Timberwolves team who already has the 6th highest pace in all of basketball. So again, I do say this hinges on Rudy Gobert, but if he is out, I absolutely love this over. If he's out, I love Tatum even more. But my favorite play in this game would actually be Jason Tatum over 28.5 points.
Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned Kyle Anderson and picking up the pace, because don't they call him Slow-Mo? Isn't that his nickname,
Yeah.
Slow-Mo? Yeah, but I think I think it's his IQ really that helps push the pace as far as being more efficient offensively. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this game here? Are you looking towards the side or a total?
Yeah, I like everything that you said, Matt, but the only thing I'm gonna add to it in the fact that I like the under in this one is the sense of how Minnesota plays the opposite of a bounce back factor, basically. Following up with that momentum, they're coming off a double digit win against Atlanta. As you guys mentioned, 21 points is a little more than double digits, I guess, but for the sake of the trends that I was looking at, double digit numbers were the difference maker here. And Minnesota's 0-7 over under at home this season off a double digit win. The average combined score of those games is staying under 219 points, and they're 2-13 over under at home after a game that went over the total. And those games are staying under 222. So when they're putting up those numbers to win big, they're putting up those numbers when the number or when the previous game is going over the total, excuse me, they're not following it up in the next game to come. I do think that this is a spot that I understand that, I think those injuries do kind of hinge, or the bets do kind of hinge on the injuries in this situation. I mean, Gobert's going to be a huge defensive mindset here in this game. But when it comes to the side, I think it's an interesting matchup, but I think it's hard to pick. Boston's got the head-to-head edge. They're 4-1 straight up in the last five, 3-1-1 against the spread. They've split the last two meetings at Minnesota. But, like I mentioned, their offense isn't following it up, but their defense is. So Minnesota's actually 16-5 against the spread at home off of a double-digit win in the last 2 years. And they're winning those games by over 13 points. So they're winning them by 13. They're just holding their opponents down. And I do think that this, is a difficult task to hold an opponent down, especially with Tatum on the other side. But, if you got Gobert out there, I am a little more confident in it, but I do find myself leaning with the under in this one tonight.
Yeah, that's a great stat that you brought out there. The Wolves at home after a double digit win. I would. It's funny because when you talk about me and you, Jeff, we're those. We look at SDQL a lot. We look at the database a lot, and I'm able to look at these things while you talk on the other screen. So it's pretty dope to be able to just hear it and then look at it and then see that it is like a factual stat versus people who bring up numbers that really sometimes come out of nowhere, but we're able to see, and that is a true number here. 7-0 to the under. That's a nice look there. One thing that I was looking at, I know you mentioned the total in that aspect, but in that same situation, they're 4-3 straight up, 4-3 against the spread. They were able to beat teams like the Kings, the Mavs when they were doing well as well. The Blazers during their peak. I mean, these are teams that are pretty solid, and Celtics obviously they're. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not sure if we could say that a league of their own, but they're the top team over there in the East. So maybe a little bit different than teams like the Kings, Blazers, and the Mavs, who have solid offense but no defense. But one thing to mention here is the Wolves. They've been really good in revenge situations this season. 13-6 straight up, 12-7 against the spread. But if you include that they're at home, they're 8-2 straight up and against the spread. This is a situation that this all season long. We look at this revenge angle. Some teams don't do well, some teams do, and the Wolves are one of those teams that do well. If you look at them just as home dogs in general, they've been really good in that spot as well. 10-4 straight up and against the spread. Also to the under this season as well, so that kind of bodes well for your under look. They beat teams in that situation: the Grizzlies, Nuggets, Cavs, Kings, just to name a few. So that's pretty solid. I think, man, there's part of me feels like there's a chance that the Wolves can actually get that outright win, because a lot of people are probably betting on the Celtics tonight just based off of the fact that they're coming off of a double-digit loss, a double-digit favorite loss to the Rockets. But this season, the Celtics it's not an auto bet. It's not an auto bet for the Celtics to bounce back after a loss. This season on the road, following a road loss, they're 2-3 straight up, 1-3-1 against the spread. So even just a look at the spread, possible 5.5. I think the number is. I think it's possible the Wolves cover, but it's not out of question that they can actually get the W here. Any last words before we move on to the next game, Jeff or Matt?
I'm
Nope.
good.
All right, let's move on.
No, I do think the
Let's move on.
injury card, finalizes things, but I
Yeah,
think
for
it'll be a good
sure.
matchup to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, let's move on to this last game here, the Warriors and the Clippers. This is going to be a good one. Both teams with the same record, 36 and 33 on the Warriors on a 2-game winning streak. Off two very tough opponents at home too, the Bucks and the Suns. This is the first of a 5-game road trip. The Clippers, on the other hand, like I mentioned, same record, 36 and 33, currently on a 3-game winning streak. So both teams playing pretty well right now. They are the more rested team here, coming off of that win over the Knicks on Saturday. This is the fourth of a 5-game homestand as well. So from a travel and schedule perspective, seems like this is a Clipper spot here. Injury-wise, Iggy, Wiggins, and Payton are all out for the Warriors. Kuminga and Ty Jerome are questionable. On the other side, Norman Powell and Brandon Boston are out for the Clippers. So the Clippers obviously a little bit more healthy as well. From a matchup perspective, though, the Warriors lead the season series 2-1. All 3 games at home. The home team won, and they won by margin. All 3 games were decided by 10 or more points here. Warriors took the most recent matchup at home, 115-91. Clippers at home here, guys, and the Warriors on the road. These are, matchup splits, these home road splits for both teams here. One thing that I looked at was the Warriors on the road, right? This is something that people have just been pretty much fading all season long. 7-26 straight up, 9-24 against the spread. 24-8-1 to the over on the road as well. If we look on the Clippers side, they're pretty much the opposite from the total perspective at home, 24-8-1 to the under instead. This from a total perspective, it almost seems like a wash. Like, don't know where to go with that one. But from a side perspective, are we looking at the schedule spot being more apparent for the Clippers than the Warriors here? Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Ron, this is a game that I'm really excited for. Kind of like you said, it's a very important spot for both teams at this point in time. Both squads, the Warriors and the Clippers, are fighting for playoff seeding. They're both, I believe, they're the 5 and 6 seed right now as well. And to your point, the Warriors have ripped off 2 wins in a row and now head to LA to face the Clippers. And as for the Clippers, they've won 3 games in a row. And for me, this Wednesday night, I'm siding with the Clippers here. One thing that I've been doing this season, or especially since the All-Star break, is when the Warriors are on the road, I've continued to fade them. When the Oklahoma City Thunder are at home, I've continued to back the Thunder. And it's worked very well to this point in time. And, someone else who is somewhat peaking at the right time is Kawhi Leonard. I think Kawhi Leonard is the difference maker in this matchup. He's gone over 30 points in 5 of his last 9 games, and one of those 30-point games was against the Golden State Warriors, and one of those 5 games was also a 40-point game on top of that. And the thing with Kawhi Leonard, when you watch him play basketball, the only time when he's not playing well is really when he's not aggressive. And in this spot, I can't see him not being aggressive. And the biggest guy who's continuing to miss for the Golden State Warriors is Andrew Wiggins. I don't think a lot of people realize how big of a miss that is for the Golden State Warriors. Andrew Wiggins is a 17-point-per-game guy. He's their best wing defender. On top of that, he'd be the guy guarding Paul George. He'd be the guy guarding Kawhi Leonard. And that's also why, just real quick, why I think the Warriors are an interesting future look in terms of the Western Conference or in terms of the NBA championship, because they're not complete yet. And if they peak at the correct time, then they're, of course, going to be a team that no one wants to face once again. But in this spot here, I'm still backing the Clippers. Again, like I was saying, I love the look of Kawhi Leonard. His points, rebounds, assists tonight is 36.5. I think that's a great look. I think it's going to be one of those spots where Kawhi kind of does it all. He's going to attack the glass. I think he's going to be aggressive going to the basket, getting his mid-range going, things of that nature. And then if they come and double him, he's fully capable of facilitating and dishing it out. So because of that, I just think this is going to be a really big night from Kawhi. I'm going to continue to fade this Golden State Warriors team when they're on the road, because let's be frank, they have not proven that they can win on the road just yet, even though they got Steph Curry back, even though Klay's playing amazing basketball at this point in time. I just can't get down with them right now. So I'm going to continue to fade the Warriors on the road, and I'm going to back the Clippers with -2.5.
Yeah, man, it's really tough to see, because I talked about it. I think it might have been in like January. I was like, well, the Warriors at some point are going to turn it around on the road. They just really haven't. Like you mentioned, it's not even close to showing anything, because they've lost and failed to cover in 8 straight road games so far, or like in their current road streak. And they're allowing their opponents to go over in 7 of their 8 games as well. post All-Star break, the Clippers looked like they started off pretty ugly. They lost 5 straight games. Now, like I mentioned, they're on a 3-game winning streak here. Seems like the momentum's on their side. The Warriors, though, they also got a little bit of momentum. Two great winning games against the Bucks and Suns, but now on the road, is it as easy as fading the Warriors on the road? Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I found that's going to add to the reason that I honestly agree with Matt that I'm with the Clippers tonight is a little more specifically Golden State on the road, 1 or less days of rest, 6-22 against the spread, and 5-23 straight up in those games. They're losing by almost 9 points per game straight up. And 21 6-1 to the over there too, with almost 240 combined points. So, Golden State, again, same situation, off a win. 1 or less days on the rest, 1 or less days of rest on the road, but coming off a win, 1-13 against the spread, or 1-12. No, 1-12-1 against the spread. Sorry, my numbers are backwards. 1-12-1 against the spread, 1-13 straight up for Golden State. So coming off a win, they're not going to win 2 games in a row when you're asking them to do this, the second leg of that on the road. And you're asking them to do it with 1 or less days of rest, which is one of their worst situations on the road as well. And one of the biggest reasons that I got my eye on this Clippers team moving forward is, I believe I said it on here the last time I was with you guys, we were talking Clippers, is their biggest issue, coming out of that All-Star break was no question their defense. And they've kind of turned that around in the last couple of games over that winning streak, which really stood out to me. And, like you mentioned, the last time that these two teams played in LA was actually Valentine's Day. So it was only a month ago. And that was a Clippers double-digit win. There was no Steph in that game, but there was also no Russ. So definitely a different look here tonight. But I find myself leaning Clippers tonight as well. I think that their streak continues before Golden State's streak continues tonight.
That's interesting. When you were talking about it too, I did it again. I was looking in the SDQL database, but Warriors off of a win. Now they're the road dog, 0-8 straight up, 1-7 and against the spread, and they're losing by an average margin of close to 20 points in this spot here. And the interesting thing is, the last time it happened, February 14th, was against the Clippers on the road. So it's pretty much the same situation here. Last time they were on the second leg of back-to-back games, Clippers had 3 days of rest. This time around, the Warriors do have 1 day of rest, but the Clippers, again, 3 days of rest. It seems like a similar situation, but the line is a lot different. They were 8-point dogs last time, 2.5-point dogs this time. I think there might have been some roster implications in that game, maybe some players out.
Yeah,
Curry was out that game, so that's one thing that happened. Curry was out that game. That's why the line was there, but pretty much almost pretty similar situation here. So I can only agree with you guys on the Clippers here. If you guys are patient, this is one thing that I noticed with the Clippers here. You could probably wait till halftime to see if there's a strong look on the second half here, because one thing that I looked at is when the Clippers are down at halftime and they're the favorite in that game, they're actually outscoring their opponents 56-49 in the second half of those games. That's a 13 game sample size. So that just tells me that the Clippers, when they're down as favorites, they're making the proper adjustments to basically come back after the half. So if you're patient enough, if you don't want to take that first, the first stab at it, the full game on the Clippers side, maybe be patient enough to just take the second half. Or, I got to be with Matt and Jeff here with the Clippers, even on the full game number. You're almost asking them to just win the game, and I think that's a spot that they can do it with the Warriors here on the road and the Clippers at home, really. Well, anything else on that one before we move on to the best bets? All right, let's get straight to it. And then, Matt, let's start with you here. What is your best bet for today's show? Also, talk to the people about what you got going on over on the premium side.
Yeah, guys, over on the premium side right now, I have 3 plays loaded. I just have to package them together, and you can grab that if you would like. We're coming off back-to-back positive days, back-to-back 4% hits as well, and 4% money line bet, or just money line bets in general, are on an 11-2 run. So if you see me taking a money line play, I really like to target those even odds games where it's a -1, +1 spread, something along those lines where you can get some plus money, and again, get some value with it as well. So I'll have those over, and we're looking to keep it going today. And one guy that we're going to be looking to is going to be Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls, and it's going to be over 36.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. And in this spot, Zach LaVine and the Chicago Bulls face off against the Sacramento Kings. And this is a spot where LaVine and the Bulls have won 2 games in a row and now have a statement game with the Sacramento Kings coming to town in Chicago. You know, the Sacramento Kings have become one of the best teams in all of basketball and have really become the offensive powerhouse of the NBA. So again, this is a Chicago Bulls team who is still fighting for their playoff lives, and again, facing a Kings team. This is going to be like a playoff style matchup. So I do expect the Chicago Bulls to come to play, and I honestly expect Zach LaVine to lead the Bulls to victory in this spot. You know, since Pat Beverly has joined the Chicago Bulls, Zach LaVine has averaged 31.4 points per game and has hit this over in 6 of 10 matchups. And one thing that you've also seen since the All-Star break, or again, since the addition of Patrick Beverly, is you've kind of seen a shift in power. It was DeMar DeRozan taking the 20-25 shots a game. Now it's somewhat shifted to Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's the guy taking 20-25 shots. And man, can that guy get hot in a hurry. You see him make a couple shots, he is going over that point prop. And tonight, though, we went with points, rebounds, assists, just for the pure fact that I believe his points was at 27.5, and it was juiced to -150. And I just didn't want to give out a -150 line. The points, rebounds, assists at 36.5 is definitely a better look. And Zach LaVine is someone with the Chicago Bulls who has gotten involved in all aspects as of late. Zach LaVine has hit this number in 3 of his last 4 matchups when facing the Kings as well. And in 2 of those, he saw over 30 points, and in 1, he saw over 40. On the season, this Kings team is the 9th worst team in points given up to the shooting guard position and 3rd worst in points given up to the small forward position. I give both because I'm not exactly sure what lineup the Bulls are going to roll out tonight. You know, I kind of actually expect a smaller style lineup with a Patrick Beverly, Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, DeRozan, and then Vucevic, just because of how small the Kings tend to run as well, with Fox, Kevin Huerter, Barnes, those guys. And then they have a guard-heavy lineup as well that they can add in with Malik Monk and some of those guys coming off the bench. So I actually think the Bulls might go smaller here tonight. And because of that, again, I really like the look of Zach LaVine. He's been one of the better players throughout the NBA at this point in time, and one of the more aggressive players in terms of attacking the basket, getting to the free throw line, putting up 3-point shots early in the shot clock, things of that nature. It's going to be a very fast game. You know, the Sacramento Kings are one of the top teams in all of pace, and also have the 26th ranked defense to go with it. And I think you guys have kind of caught on to my trend in regards to attacking the Kings. So once again, we're going after him again, but this time it's Zach LaVine over 36.5 points, rebounds, assists.
Yeah, it's always, I talked about it the other day, Matt, when you bring up these PRAs and you pick a player who can actually just get over that number with points alone. He's got 36 in 3 of his last 5 games, 36 points, and you're asking for a half rebound or assist possibly. That's an awesome look. One thing I do want to update the folks in with is Jarrett Allen was just announced out. And so that's obviously a big that's a big move here for the Cavaliers and how we look at that game. But just wanted to update the folks there who, if you're watching live, that Jarrett Allen is out now. Let's go to Jeff here. What's your best bet for today's show? Also, what do you got going on the premium side as well?
So after Ron gives you his best bet, guys, let's run to the window because my best bet tonight is going to be Joel Embiid's PRAs. And not saying I don't like it with I do still like it. I got some points on it too. I do still like it. I just think that there might be a little bit of a line movement here that we may want to get ahead of. Uh, but I mean, Embiid's dominated in all aspects. He's gone over this number 5 straight games, 12 of the last 16, and he's done it in multiple ways. Guys, you just mentioned it. You want to talk about a player, maybe this number is a little harder to reach with points alone, but I mean, Embiid over that 16-game span, Embiid's had two 40-point games, and he's had 11 30-point games. He's had 8 10 plus rebound games, and he's had 5 plus assist games. So he's really getting it done on every level. And his last 7 games against Cleveland alone, he's averaging 51.6 APRs. He's got 33 points, almost 13 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists in those games. And he's gone over this total in 5 of the last 7 games and 3 out of the last 4. And that was kind of to the point that I was making, is that some of those were with Jared Allen, obviously, this season. So I think it's, possible. It would have been possible either way. But I do think that obviously, this number could move a little bit more, because you're looking at Evan Mobley, like Matt mentioned earlier, and you're looking at Robin Lopez, potentially coming off the bench and playing there too. And he had his days, but now are probably not his days to be out there guarding Joel Embiid in the paint. So I do think that this is obviously a favorable matchup. So, if we can get out there and get ahead of the movement to this, I would probably take it. I don't see it moving too much, but I would take it up to probably 47.5, maybe at least 46.5 if it potentially moves any more than that. But a lot of stuff going on the premium site, guys, too, real quick. It's actually my birthday week, so I got a big promo up there for you. Coupon code birthday 149 is 30 days for $149. That's under $5 a day. And if you guys haven't seen it on Twitter, new MLB guide for the season is up on my site that you guys see below, or it's over at Wagertalk site, but that's got info for every team. You can check some of it out on Twitter too.
I love it. Well, I didn't know it was your birthday week, Jeff. So happy birthday to you, because we won't see you until next week. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like he said, though, this Embiid number is probably going to move a little bit with Jared Allen out. I said Jaren Jackson because that's actually my best bet for today's show. Jaren Jackson under 7.5 rebounds and assists. I talked about the under 8.5 rebounds and assists on Monday, and he only got 5 rebounds and no assists that game. So I'm going back to it. I think they brought it down to 7.5 from the 8.5 on Monday, but I think it's still too low. They brought it down because of the matchup. I mean, they played the Heat here. Heat are one of the slower paced teams. They're also the 5th best team at limiting opposing centers under their rebounds and assists. Jaren Jackson himself has gone under this total in, I think it's 6 of his last 8 games. I think it's 6 of his last 8 games, 7 of his last 9 games he's gone under. And in his matchups against the Heat in general, he's faced them 6 times and haven't gone over this number in any of them. Post All-Star break, he's averaging less than an assist per game on 2 potential assists per game. He's also averaging just 6.3 rebounds per game on 13.6 rebound chances, but he's only grabbing 46% of those chances. So I don't expect him to get an assist. So we're asking him to get 8 rebounds against one of the best rebounding teams in the league. That is a tough ask. So give me Jaren Jackson under 7.5 rebounds and assists here. That is my best bet for today's show. On the premium side, that is actually a premium play. And I'm also looking at a few games here to add on. And typically I put my games up around noon. I'm still waiting on some of the injury report statuses. Obviously, Jaren Jackson, it was one of them that I was waiting on. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be moving on that game anymore. But at the same time, there's still a whole bunch of other games that I have solid looks on. So just head back over to sportsmemo.com. You can see my page down there. You saw the link there. You saw Jeff's page and Matt's page as well. Check out the live odds page. That there's the free picks on the site as well. Everything over at sportsmemo.com, guys, it's free. All right, it's free there. Other than the picks and packages, there's the promos, the leaderboard, everything over at sportsmemo.com. And all it does is takes an email, and you don't have to pay for anything. Just an email address, and you're good to go. With that said, we talked about 3 solid games. We gave out our best bets. Our next show will be on Friday, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, on the same channel here on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go. Until then, good luck with all your action. Till next time, peace.
Peace.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at Wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.